If you're struggling to create chances in eFootball, then this video might be exactly what you need. Because if you look at the top-ranked players in eFootball, you'll notice something very interesting. A huge number of them are using long ball counter, and more specifically, this 4-3-3 setup. But here's the problem. A lot of people copy this formation, switch to long ball counter, and still can't make it work. And the reason is simple. They're copying the formation, but they don't actually understand how the system is supposed to function. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set up the 4-3-3 for long ball counter, why it works so well, and how top players actually use it in real matches. And I'll also show you the tactical switch they use when goals become hard to come by. Let's get into it. For the goalkeeper, honestly, just pick your best goalkeeper. In long ball counter, your defensive structure is already solid, so the goalkeeper's playstyle isn't extremely important. Personally, I prefer defensive goalkeepers because when you look at their raw stats, they're just better and they hold their line. They stay in position for long-range shots, which is mostly what you'll be facing. Now, for your center backs, you have two solid options. You can either use two build-up defenders or one build-up and one destroyer. Both combinations can work well. But here's the truth. The behavior of your players in-game matters more than what's written on paper. That's something most pros already know. You really have to test your players, study their movement, and see how they behave. For example, Ferdinand is very aggressive, even though he's a build-up defender. Thanks to his aerial force skill, he always steps up to contest headers. So if you're playing with someone like Cannavaro, and he's also rushing out, it can leave your defense open. That's why I personally pair Ferdinand with Baresi. Now, let me give you a tip for life in eFootball. The most reliable defensive defenders for holding the line are number 1, Van Dijk, number 2, Franco Baresi, and number 3, Saliba. Van Dijk and Baresi are excellent at positioning. They're almost always in the right spot. Saliba, though, combines good positioning with aggression and pace, so he can cover more ground than the other two. That's why you see even low-rated Saliba in most top squads. He's like Mbappe in attack, if you know what I mean. Now for your fullbacks, I recommend using one attacking fullback and one defensive fullback. The attacking fullback is very important because he provides the width on one side of the pitch, and that width is actually one of the main strengths of this formation. As we go further into the video, you'll start to see exactly why that side becomes so important in attack. On the opposite side, it's usually better to keep a more defensive fullback so your team maintains balance when the attacking fullback pushes forward. For your defensive midfielder, ideally, you have to use an anchor man. By now, almost everybody has Frank Rijkaard. Now, this guy is rated only 103, but he makes it into a lot of pay to win squads, and the reason is simple. Rijkaard is one of the best defensive midfielders in the game. Most of his other cards are orchestrators, but this one is built for dominance. His passes are incredibly accurate for a free defensive midfielder, and with his visionary pass skill, he's also a reliable distributor. Add in the defensive coverage he offers, and you've got one of the best defensive midfielders in the game. If you don't have Rijkaard yet, just make sure you use an anchor man in defensive midfield. That's what works right now. For the other two midfielders, this is what determines how you play. You see, in long ball counter, you need midfielders who can hold the ball and deliver accurate long passes. Many top players use an orchestrator like Pirlo, but let's be honest, not everyone can afford those cards. Strong free-to-play options like Pep Guardiola, Xabi Alonso, Pedri, or De Jong work perfectly in this role. They can hold possession, wait for your attackers' runs, and release precise long passes that break defensive lines. Now, for the final midfielder, this role really depends on how you want your midfield to function. Ideally, the best option here is a box-to-box midfielder. Box-to-box players give you the best balance because they push forward to support attacks, but also track back and help defensively when needed. That balance makes them very effective in long ball counter. However, if you want more aggressive forward runs in the box, then a whole player is a great option. Whole players are much more attack-minded and will constantly look to make direct runs forward and join the attack. On the other hand, if you feel your midfield needs more defensive solidity, then a destroyer can also work well here. Personally, I use Paul Scholes in this role. Even though he is originally a creative playmaker, I play him as a CMF, which makes his playstyle inactive. Because of that, he moves more freely and almost behaves like a box-to-box midfielder. Now watch this clip. Whenever we win the ball, Scholes immediately sprints forward to support the attack and give an extra option going forward. And whenever we lose the ball, he aggressively runs back to recover his position and help defensively. That constant forward and backward movement is exactly what makes this role work so well. Bellingham, Declan Rice, and Kokshu are some of the best free-to-play options right now. Now, the front line will really determine your success, so listen carefully. In this setup, you want to use 2 center forwards and 1 supporting striker, with the supporting striker position between the 2 strikers. And there are a couple of reasons why this works so well. The first reason has to do with how defenders naturally position themselves. Most of the time, the 2 center backs will focus on tracking your 2 strikers. Their main job is to stay tight to those players and prevent them from getting clear chances. But because of that, the supporting striker often finds space to run freely into the box. Since the defenders are already occupied with the 2 strikers, this player can arrive late from deeper positions and attack the space in the middle. And those late runs can be extremely dangerous because they're harder for defenders to track. In fact, I've even conceded a first-half hat-trick from someone using Johan Cruyff in that exact role. That's how lethal those runs can be when the player in that role has the right qualities. So for this role, what you really want is explosive acceleration and good finishing. Players like Johan Cruyff are perfect for it. Free options include Messi, Neymar, and anyone with good acceleration and finishing. Now for the 2 center forwards. Let's start with the first striker. This one should ideally be a very fast player who can constantly threaten the space behind the defense. Someone like Kylian Mbappe is perfect for this role because his pace allows you to release him quickly with long passes. If possible, you can place this striker on counter-target so he's always ready to make runs in behind. Now for the second center forward. This player should ideally be physically strong and very good in the air. A player like Gabriel Batistuta is a great example because he combines strength with excellent finishing. It's also very important to position the striker on the opposite side of where your attacking side is. Since most of your attacks and crosses will come from that side, placing him on the opposite side means he will naturally arrive at the back post when those crosses come in. And the back post is one of the most dangerous places to score from in this system. So this striker should be someone who can win headers and finish crosses consistently. Now, this next adjustment is very important, so pay attention. If you watch players at the very top rankings, you'll notice something about how they react when they need a goal. They don't keep forcing the same type of attack. Instead, they make small adjustments that can break very stubborn defenses. In this case, what many players do is bring in a wide player with pinpoint crossing on the crossing side. That player then becomes a left wing forward or a right wing forward, depending on the side you want to attack from. And if you look at what I'm doing here, you'll notice something interesting. All 4 substitutes on this left side have pinpoint crossing. That's not a coincidence. The idea is to create an overload on that side so you can consistently deliver dangerous crosses into the box. Since we already have a strong aerial striker positioned to attack those crosses, this becomes very difficult for defenders to deal with. And because of that pressure, gaps eventually start to appear in the defense. As you can see in this clip, we keep building the attack on that side, creating those overloads and forcing the defender to keep reacting. And eventually, the cross finally comes in, and Gabriel Batistuta finishes it. Now, if you struggle to make your headers connect more often, or if you find it difficult to deliver consistent crosses, I actually have separate videos where I break both of those down in detail, one on crossing and another on heading. So if you want to improve those parts of your game, make sure you check those out after this video. If this breakdown helped you, make sure you drop a like. And if you want more tactical guides like this, consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching.